G'day, I'm Ben McEachran from Hope Mornings here on Money, Faith and Finance with you. And with you, Pete Burrows.
Yes.
I don't know why I sound shocked. You're here
I've
every
been
single
here.
time
Yep.
for like 8 seasons now.
Yep.
And you're still an accountant with Lower Russell and Farr at Penrith here in Greater Sydney, accountant with small businesses and individuals.
Yes.
Now that's out of the way, let's talk about hidden costs, Pete, and trying to expose them here on Money, Faith and
There's
Finance.
enough non-hidden costs. Who needs hidden costs? There's enough obvious costs.
I sound like I'm doing one of those TV shows at 6:30 or 7 o'clock at night.
Like
hidden costs.
Shout at you. Dodgy tradies exposed.
Not dodgy tradies, but hidden costs.
Yes.
And before we get to exposing them, Pete, what is going on with credit card surcharges in Australia at the moment?
Yeah, so we all know that we pay them when we go and tap. We often pay 1% to 2% extra. So that's
or more sometimes, isn't it?
Sometimes more, depending on the kind of credit card you use. So that's a surcharge. And the RBA has talked about abolishing them and banning them from the middle. Banning them from the middle of next year. So they're obviously after submissions. It's not finalised yet.
Yeah, by the end of August, you can weigh in on it if
so
you
there'll be banks and card issuers. Everybody's going to have a submission.
I was just about to say, do you think anyone is going to put in a submission saying, could you please keep the surcharges?
Them, yes. Well, apparently it's worth $1.2 billion a year in savings. So they claim that there will be savings of that, which would be passed on to consumers if they could abolish surcharges.
I'm going to save $1.2 billion?
Well, that's the interesting question is, will all that be passed on to Joe Retail? You know, when we go and buy something, will that saving in these surcharges be passed on? Or will it be reflected in higher prices that sometimes have to get passed on? Will it be absorbed? Or will it be taken up by the banks in another way? So it'd be fascinating to see how it plays out.
Because the surcharge is meant to be about the cost of how we transact
the
money.
interchange fee between the banks, yep.
And I didn't even realize that the Reserve Bank was in control of this until hearing about these news stories about the potential of abolishing the surcharge. And it was brought in also to lead us in particular directions when it came to the way we use money. So I think initially it was meant to steer us more towards cash, or
it was made sense at the time.
Encourage us
it made
to use
sense
cash.
at the time. You know, when they brought it in, like say early 2000s, cash was still the predominant means of payment. But
and it was meant to effectively dissuade from using other forms, but we just got over that and started paying the surcharge.
We got over a little thing like a global pandemic, that little COVID thing, and then everybody paid everything with their cards, and cash is such a small percentage now, most transactions. So we all feel like we're paying with card and virtual money everywhere, but then being slapped with the fee when we do it. So it is making people more aware of the fact that there's a hidden charge just to spend money.
Yeah, one of the things I think that's flowing out of this, will they not take away the surcharge, is pointing all of us back to hidden costs, which we should also point out are hidden in plain sight. Like the majority of costs.
Like we're not saying illegal necessarily, it just might be not super obvious.
Yeah, it makes it sound a bit dodgy. And I think it's sometimes, at the very least, it feels like that. But we're talking about buried costs that way down in the fine print. Oh, really? Because credit cards, it's not just a surcharge, right? That can be a quote unquote hidden charge. There are other issues with our credit cards, other fees that we might be paying.
Yeah, like, I mean, even on my credit card, there'd be like a card fee each year. So there'd be a fee for that. If you had something that was dishonored, if you hadn't paid enough onto your credit card and you spent some money, didn't have the money there, you'd have a dishonor fee. So banks have lots of fees. And credit cards and finance has lots of fees. I just think they're not all as obvious as we think they are.
And potentially out of this talk of surcharges, credit cards, hidden fees, leading us on to consider all the different hidden quote unquote fees that we might be paying all around the shop, including in food delivery services, of which we don't tend to use that much. And just in preparation for this episode of Money, Faith and Finance, looking at things like service fees versus delivery fees, that some of the different platforms that will bring you stuff to your place. I didn't even realize that could be a difference between service fee and delivery fee. Isn't that the same? What? The service is the delivery.
Well, I guess the delivery is perhaps the portion that's in a sense going to the driver, hopefully, and the service fee, I guess, is in a sense what the people at the top are getting, whether it's an Uber or whoever, is what they're getting.
Yeah,
but they've got heaps of fees. I didn't realize there's a small order fee. There's a priority fee. There's a skip the wait fee. There's a wrong delivery address fee. So some of these are more obvious than others, but it makes you realize we just see the first cost. We don't necessarily know what we're going to end up paying. Or the way I say it is, you know, we read the quote, but we pay on the bill. So you've got to understand what you see may not be the final cost.
Even as we talk about this out loud and try to describe some of these things as hidden costs, I'm imagining that a lot of these costs are available to
Terms
our
and
eyes,
conditions.
because that's right. If we actually
people click through to use it.
if we actually went through to the terms and conditions, we would see that this is what we're paying for. Or that's right, looked closer at our bill to see what's itemized in it. But so often we don't. Like, we love the convenience of what we're able to do nowadays and the speed at which. And so sometimes it might actually be a bit rich of us to complain about these fees that we find out about later on, but they were actually there from the start.
Yeah, because that's not what we signed up for, I guess, would be what people would say is, I really just want to use this app for convenience. I wasn't thinking about cost. It was convenience and I wanted my product.
But that's on us, don't you think?
I think it is on us. I think the way that people look at things, especially if you look at it on your phone, there's a sense of, I'm not going to read minute terms and conditions on my phone. I'm probably looking like an old person like that. I just want to click through and use it. I want to get on with my life. You know, if it's something big enough, I refuse to look at it on my phone. I'll look at it on my desktop. I've got a different frame of mind. I can see more of the text and I'm way more professional and serious about it. So if you're actually going to read something that's a contract that could incur cost for you, I'd advise people, click on your phone if you want, but if you really want to read it, look at it on something bigger.
Whoa, you mean it's desktop? Free. No, do you actually mean printed out?
Dot matrix, daisy wheel, whatever your printer.
Yep. Mate, old school. Yep. Look at you.
You don't have to print it out, but I think just read it and absorb it as a proper document, not just I'm clicking because it's so small, how could I possibly even read it?
Because when we're thinking about savings, which so many of us think about all the time, and there are plenty of episodes of Money, Faith and Finance all about savings, like the savings bricks that we talked about earlier this season. If you didn't check that out, Wealth Wall and Savings Bricks. You
were brick gnostic, but now you're coming around. Yeah,
I was about to reaffirm that I was almost convinced by you. Kinda.
I've sent you back now. I've just knocked your brick out of the wall.
Kinda. By the end, you should go and check it out. See what you think about Savings Bricks, Money, Faith and Finance in the back catalogue. But as we're all thinking about savings, cost of living, we've talked about cost of living on the podcast loads. This sort of hidden fees that we're talking about now, including moving on to things like property, buying and selling, you would think that all of us, if we do want to save a buck, would start looking at the fine print, the terms and conditions, all the different aspects of everything from a food delivery service to when I'm buying a property or selling one. Because we could actually make some savings here.
Look, you could. I mean, some of those costs are legislated, so like picking on the buying, selling a house, stamp duty, that's a government legislated thing. It's easy to calculate at what it would be.
So that's not very hidden.
No, the real estate that's selling the property, they should be relatively transparent. It's going to cost you X% to sell your property. So a lot of costs are out there, but the problem is we're not hung up on the costs. We're hung up on the thing. We want to buy the house, sell the house, get the food, buy the product. We don't really want the costs and the extra stuff. So sometimes your mind may actually trick you to go, I don't really worry about that. I'm worrying about the thing. And then those costs kind of eat away at it. So our minds probably trick us into downplaying the importance of the extra costs and just concentrating on what we want.
Also my laziness as well. Like I noticed this.
I was trying to fancy it up, but pretty much your laziness.
Well, I'm just calling me out, let alone whoever else
Captain Lazy,
might be feeling a bit judged by saying laziness. But when I was booking a flight a couple of weeks ago, I was almost instantly sighing and like the life force is being sapped out of me.
That's what they want. They want you slumping into that virtual seat like
because there seems like 1,000,000 pages you've got to go through, all these different options, some of which are going to cost me more. I can see that in front of me. But then others even below the fold on the page and all that sort of thing, to me felt a bit hidden. Like I've really got to scour this to understand why is the total now jumped up by $30 or $40 or $50? But my own laziness sometimes can stop me from looking further into, are there more buried costs? Like with my superannuation, for example, or different insurance that I have. Some of the rollover annually, I just I can't even be bothered looking at that. That's just coming up again.
Future you will thank you though. Like you need to do the work. We need to look for the savings, look to save the cost.
Future you would thank me if I actually did stop and look at it, but I don't tend to. So as we're talking about this, I'm thinking, no, actually a lot of these costs aren't hidden. They're just unavailable to me because I'm not going to look at them. I'm just basically ignoring that on this insurance, there's admin charges or opt-out extras or loyalty taxes or that sort of stuff. I'm not spending the time taking the time to actually scrutinize it.
If it's a contract, if you're going into something that's going to be a subscription or a contract, and we don't really think about it, but all our streaming services, everything we subscribe to is technically a contract. So really, read a contract. If someone else stuck a contract in front of you, you'd probably want to read it, or you'd say to someone, can you explain it to me? The problem with these contracts are we can't negotiate them. We can't take clauses out. So you pretty much either accept and move on and use the product, or you go decline and then see you later.
Man, sometimes it could be hard to decline. Some of the streaming services I'm thinking about with movies and TV.
Yep.
There was one
Hard to get
recently
off.
that we tried to get off, and I did it several times to basically convince myself that I clicked on the right button to
You can
end
check
this
out
thing.
anytime you like, but you can never leave.
I was just panicking. You know that thing of like, oh, it's going to tick over for another month and it's going to charge me another $5 or $10 or whatever. It was really difficult.
And
to
could you
work
do it
out
on your phone? Because I've seen somewhere I've tried to cancel it from my phone when I've got annoyed. I'm like, I'm canceling you. And it doesn't work. But it's like, you can only do it through the website and you got to log in. Like they make you take all the steps to get there. You can't just go, I'm out. Because they know people would do it.
I'm just picturing Grandpa Burrows over here yelling at your phone about, I want to cancel. I took a lesson from Pete Burrows and I actually tend to go to a laptop screen and look at it big because I find that way at least I've got a better chance of trying to work out how to get out of this, including how to unselect some of the quote unquote.
And there can be break fees sometimes. So
hidden
the other
fees,
thing you're talking about contract is if you're in a contract and you want to get out of it, well, they thought they were going to get all those fees from you for the length of the contract. So if you get out early, you can sometimes have like a break fee. And I've seen that with subscriptions. I've seen it with a home loan. We paid a fixed home loan rate out early once and we got a break fee from the bank by, paying out that loan. So like they're real costs because these businesses are banking on your money for a certain period of time. If you do anything to stop that, well, then they will try and recoup some of that loss because they've got to know, they've got to get another customer now because Angry Ben and Angry Pete clicked we want out. Well, they've got to get another customer. So they want to sting us on the way out the door.
And in looking through,
we're not that angry, really. We're happy.
Apart from when you're shouting at your phone about, I want to cancel, I want to save some money here. Looking into all sorts of different hidden costs as we were preparing for Money, Faith, and Finance this time round. This is a world that I don't have any experience in, but a tip for young players or for parents of young players or even parents who are gaming online, reading about in-app purchases and microtransactions. And microtransactions, I think I'm getting this right, that inside a gaming world, you're offered all sorts of different stuff you can buy. So
you can buy add-ons.
Real money, but you're buying virtual stuff. But there's some controversy about even in your microtransaction, you may not get what you want to get. And is that actually gambling because you've got a 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 chance of getting, I don't know, a sword? I don't know. I've never done this.
To be honest, and look, I've seen my kids do it. And I think at some level,
did they get the sword?
1 out of 5 times. So I think, is it a gateway to gambling? There's an element of chance and there's a cost. And once you introduce cost and element of chance and people are doing it from their device, that is a gateway, I think, to getting people ready and comfortable with the idea of betting and gambling. So I don't think they're doing it by accident, to be fair. But also I think too, people can do it at such a younger age. Like, we've talked before in other episodes, there's no bit of paper that they have to stick in front of their parents. It's if you've got an account and you're signed up, you can make those purchases.
Pete, also thinking about all this stuff to do with quote unquote hidden costs, possibly dodgy costs, buried costs. In the book of Proverbs, in the Old Testament, in the Bible, chapter 11, verse 1, the Lord God detests dishonest scales, but accurate weights find favor with God. There's the voice of God telling you if you are charging hidden or dodgy costs, stop doing it. God's not a big fan of that. And Jesus, in one of the ways he talked about weighing up the cost of following him, gave this analogy of if you want to build a tower, won't you sit down and estimate the cost? That seems like the kind of teaching of Jesus that in a conversation like this, we could drop in. But I like it, but is it just totally out of context? Because
a little bit of context.
Was Jesus really thinking about microtransactions and, some of those exit fees on your...
The internet was a bit spotty and
I know, like really, was that the kind of cost that he was talking about weighing up? He was talking about following him.
But he was talking about following him, but I do think there's something there for everybody in the sense of know the cost of something before you do it. So he was trying to, I guess it's a warning, but also saying this is serious, guys.
Yeah.
Money and purchases are a bit the same. Like we want the thing, but we don't understand everything beforehand. And in reality, you should know the cost because there's different costs. There's the starting cost, ongoing cost, and then there could be an exit cost. So there's a lot of layers of cost in a purchase. You buy a hamburger at the shop, you go bang, hamburger, paid $10, I'm done. A cheap hamburger. If you have subscription or a contract, there could be layers of cost. There's the cost to start. Then there's the in-app purchases or the micro
like your beetroot and then your pineapple and then your lettuce and...
But they're okay because you see what you get. But then there could be the exit cost. The cafe doesn't charge us when we leave. They've already stung us. But a lot of electronic transactions, a lot of more complicated transactions, there could be multiple points that they're charging us along the way. And I think that's where we're perhaps losing control of it.
Okay, so speaking of bringing things into the light, Pete, Show me the money.
Show me the money. Look, I think you need to understand nothing is really free. It's just a question.
Nothing's really free?
Nothing is free. Spoiler alert, people. Nothing is free, but who's paying the cost? You know, there will be a cost to transactions, a cost to buying a product, a cost to leaving a subscription service. You need to understand what is my cost and who is bearing it.
That's been Money, Faith and Finance. It's been great to be with you. We always love hearing from you. Leave us some comments, your thoughts, feelings, maybe your angriness at your phone. You might have had some wins when it comes to exploring hidden costs and stamping them out.
How'd you get out of them? What was your hack?
And also, how much did you save? It'd be great to hear from you in the Money, Faith and Finance Facebook group, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places would be great to interact with you.
All those places we just slagged off, but yes, please, please come.
He moves on quickly from such accusations. Pete Burrows, thank you. I don't think I say that enough to you, Pete Burrows. And now I'm sounding insincere.
Ben McKecken, you're welcome.
I need to change my tone, Pete. Thank you very much, Pete, for bringing
always a pleasure, never a chore.
All those things out for us. You are, at the start of this conversation, you were an accountant with small businesses and individuals with Lower Russell and Far at Penrith.
I think I still am.
And you still are?
I can't quit my day job for this.
I wanted to confirm before we signed off. I'm still Ben McKecken from Hope Mornings. We'll see you next time.